sort of support system to get them through it. So I feel like I have a unique ability to help during this time for various reasons. First of all, I went through SARS virus in Hong Kong in 2003, and I therefore have experienced what it's like to go through a period of time where, I mean, in Hong Kong, for example, at that time for 4 months, everybody just stopped. Everybody stopped spending, everybody stopped investing in growing their businesses. So I had a big business at that time in Hong Kong called Fluid. It suffered at the very beginning of that virus. We weren't prepared like a lot of people aren't today, and we had to really work hard to fight back. But we did fight back. I actually managed to grow the business during the SARS virus problem in Hong Kong, despite the complete lockdown as far as any business doing anything is concerned. And so I have a unique experience of how to fight back during a virus like this. At the same time, I've started 17 companies from scratch. 13 of them, the first 13 companies I had, I started with absolutely no money. So I know what it's like to start a business with no money. I also left school at 15 with no education. So I know what it's like to start a business with no money, with no education. And so I think my combination of experience of having gone through a virus similar to the virus we're going through now with the SARS virus in Hong Kong, my business experience of personally having built 17 businesses, 13 of them with absolutely no money, and my lack of education, I think can mean that I am an example of someone that shouldn't have made it but did. And I want to basically give back and help other people out there right now that might feel like their situation is hopeless. So my main focus for this broadcast is I guess, two types of people. One is someone that has an existing business today that is struggling to adjust to the new world they found themselves in. Perhaps you've done business a certain way for a long period of time and you need some help to innovate to accommodate today's world. And so I want to be here to help that type of entrepreneur. I know there's a lot of people that have just bunkered down and said, well, this will be over in a couple of months, so I'll just hibernate until that point. I actually think this period of time should be a chance for you to innovate, a chance for you to rethink the business, restructure it, so that when we come out the other side, you're ready. I also think that there's an opportunity for you to really think about whether or not the business you have today is the business you want forever. I think equally there's a chance for you to look at the business and say, what could it be? What could I make it? I know a lot of people have small businesses, and I've had, out of my 17 companies, quite a few of them have been small businesses, that sometimes you can get stuck being a small business. You don't want to have a massive payroll, especially now when things feel dangerous, let's say, but even more so generally in life, no one likes to have big responsibilities on their shoulders. So I can help you push through that barrier, and I've always, basically my thing is, I know for sure that actually when you have a big business, it's easier to manage than a small business. So I want to help that demographic, that small business owner who's struggling right now. I want to help you push through this time and innovate and rethink your business. So if anyone has any questions around their business, you feel free to comment in any of the broadcast platforms that I'm on tonight. Equally, you can send me an email at simonsquibb.com, and I reply and get back to everyone that's sent me a message trying to give advice and guidance and support. So I had over 220 messages yesterday, which was amazing, and I've replied to every single message, got back to every single person, and basically my whole idea is that I want to be a resource for anyone out there that's struggling right now. So one demographic is, as I say, the existing entrepreneur that's out there presently, that's finding it hard. I can just be someone you can lean on at this time, and I want nothing in return. At the same time, I'm also here to try and encourage people to start a business of their own. Now, I know it's not perhaps in everyone's mind to start a business right now, and me even saying it might sound crazy. Why would anyone start a business right now? But some of the best businesses in the world have been started during difficult times. And so I think, in fact, there is a huge opportunity in many areas for people to start a business of their own right now from home with no money. So you've got no excuses, I think, right now. Now, if you're not sure, you don't have an idea, I've actually done a video on 7 multi-million pound, dollar, wherever you're listening, currency ideas that you can do tomorrow from your home. And initially, to get those ideas off the ground will cost you nothing. So that video will go live tomorrow at 11 a.m. UK time. And hopefully those 7 ideas will be useful to you. So you could just go to my YouTube page and you'll see it's set for premiere tomorrow at 11. There's 7 ideas that are worth, in my view, millions of pounds that could be very profitable, very exciting businesses for someone. So if you're looking for a business idea, maybe plug into that video tomorrow. It should be finished and live by tomorrow at 11. So that's the first thing. I want to encourage people to start a business, not just by giving them ideas, but if anyone's out there thinking 2 things. 1, you might be thinking you're not an entrepreneur. Now, I want you to understand I'm an entrepreneur, but I wasn't born an entrepreneur. I trained myself to be an entrepreneur. You can train yourself to be an entrepreneur. So if anyone out there isn't sure and they're thinking to themselves, I'm not an entrepreneur, there are 8 different types of entrepreneurs. I 100% guarantee you're probably one of those types. The only difference between me and you is mindset. So my idea is to try and help change the mindset of anyone out there that doesn't think they can be a business owner or doesn't think they can be an entrepreneur. When I see the unemployment numbers of 6 million plus in the US, I think to myself, you can't get a job right now, so why don't you start a business of your own? And I want to help people do that. And so part of it is perhaps idea generation, and another part of it is inspiration. So I have a podcast show. We have a new podcast going live every Thursday, and basically it's called the Good Luck Club. You can Google it. It's on Apple Music, it's on Spotify, it's on all the major platforms. And basically on that broadcast, I get very successful entrepreneurs to come in and tell their story. And my big thing is that I believe a large part of what makes someone successful is luck. I was lucky in business, and I don't think this is said enough. Yes, I worked hard. Yes, I had some good ideas. Yes, you could argue I was in the right place at the right time, but without luck, I wouldn't have made it. So I do a podcast all about that, so that anyone out there can realize that they're going to need a bit of luck if they're going to be successful. And so that's part of what I'm also offering. I'm offering access to shows like that. Again, it's all free. Everything I produce is free. I'm not looking for anything in return other than to give back and help people right now. That's all I'm after. I want to share the knowledge that I've got of building 17 companies. I've invested in 66 businesses as well as an angel investor. So I've seen every sort of business model there is. And I want you to know, for anyone that is thinking of starting a business right now, there is nothing like it. If you went to university and you think university was fun, starting a business is 10 times more fun. And I tell you right now, you want to learn how the real world works, go start a business. And over the next 3 or 4 months, if you're looking for a job, maybe you're coming out of university and you can't get a job, I honestly think right now, don't bother looking for a job. Just try and start a business of your own. Now, I did a broadcast yesterday about things that perhaps university students, for example, could think about as far as businesses are concerned. So I don't want to repeat what I said in yesterday's broadcast. So if you're interested and you are a university student and you're wondering what you could do now as a business of your own, maybe go listen to that broadcast yesterday. Equally, you can listen to the 7 ideas I'm laying out tomorrow at 11 a.m. on my YouTube channel, and hopefully that will inspire you. But I want to help anyone out there that might want to start a business of their own get going. So that's the purpose of my broadcasts. Now, I want to answer some questions and start helping people on this broadcast. And I got an email just before broadcast started from a lady called Andrea. And she sent me this question, and I would like to answer it on air. I know she's here. So I would like to basically try my very best to answer her question. Now, her question is this. Andrea is a business owner, and she says, I own a donut shop business, but even I am now online following the coronavirus nightmare, I don't have customers buying my products online. Should I discount? Now, Andrea, I've been thinking about this question, and I basically have quite a long answer. And part of the answer, I'm going to try and help not just you, but anybody out there that's also thinking, and I've had this from quite a few people, I can't get clients, should I discount right now? And first up, I want to say, I absolutely hate discount. And I had a similar thought, again, in 2003, when my agency business Fluid was going through the SARS virus. For anyone that doesn't know, this is really the original coronavirus. You know, it was kind of 1.0 of coronavirus. And at that time, I had a huge amount of people working for me, and there was a point where I'm like, okay, maybe I need to discount our services to keep clients and keep the cash flow going. And I'm absolutely glad that that was not my first company, and I had this experience that discount does not work. I don't believe in discount. Now, I know you might not agree with me because you may see everybody around always throwing discounts out there, but what you'll see is often discounts are often followed by bankruptcy. So you look at HMV and these sorts of brands, they're busy discounting when in reality what they should be doing is what I call value add. So I just want to say first of all to Andrea, who's asking this question, what people want right now, I think, is purpose in people's businesses. So answering, your particular business as a specialty, I think that if I owned your donut shop right now, what I would actually be doing is, you've done the right thing by going online. I would make sure you're digital savvy and are perhaps, for example, live broadcasting, making your product so people can see what's going on behind the scenes and get connected and feel love for your brand. But I think building in purpose into your business is the key to really getting traction. So there's so many people now online selling stuff that, how do you break through? And I think for me, it is, I keep saying this word purpose, and let me give you an example, Andrea. If you were selling donuts right now, and let's say your donuts are £100 for a box, and in that offer, you also said that you'd give £10 of that £100 to support the NHS or frontline staff getting the product they need right now to protect them. I love donuts, but I'm not buying donuts at the moment. They don't seem like a necessity. I'm actually more worried about making sure my son's got the food that he needs. So I'm focusing on making sure he's got what he needs, and he doesn't at 2.5 years old need donuts. But I love donuts, and I would love to order some donuts, but it doesn't really spring to mind as a necessity item to me. Yet if I saw that there was a donut shop out there that was doing this, that was giving, say, a percentage of your profit to the NHS or to a good cause, then I would be inclined to treat myself to those donuts, because I would be doing good and treating myself. Just treating myself right now, going online to your website and making a particular order with you, filling all the details in that online form, feels like a lot of work for a selfish item. But if you can make that business have purpose, and that's just one example, you could give back through your business, I think you do good and do well because of it. And so that's just my quick view. Now, I really want to highlight something important at this point that I want to draw, pull out from just the kind of donut shop that you have, Andrea, and really talk to people generally about this. And so I'm assuming I can see a couple of hundred people online right now. I'm kind of assuming that the people listening here have a small business of some sort. Maybe you're a sole trader. And one of the things I want to say is, first of all, please do not fall into the trap of discounting. I think the key to all of this is sell your expertise. So, for example, if you play guitar, of course you might not be getting gigs and all this sort of thing right now, but I think you can teach others how to play the guitar. If you're a craftsman, you're of course not going to people's houses and doing stuff for them right now, but you could sell DIY. You could sell what you do as a expertise instead of as a service. Equally, I believe that, for example, if you're a nanny, there's so many parents right now that are wonderful parents but are struggling to perhaps take care of their kids right now. And I'm one of these parents. I mean, all day long looking after my son is a blessing, but it's not easy. I would like some advice from a nanny that knows what they're doing. So perhaps, again, teaching your expertise, thinking about it in that context, I think can be very, very powerful. And so, it doesn't have to be discounting your existing service, because some of those things I've just mentioned, you couldn't even do it if you discounted. But, I think it's about adding value. That's my overriding point. The other thing I can suggest that people do is perhaps offer a light version of what they do. If people can't afford your service so much, perhaps that's a light version. So an example could be, I have a trainer. There's two problems for my trainer. One, I can't go to the gym and therefore he can't train me. But equally, right now, a lot of people won't necessarily want to spend a lot of money with a trainer. But if that trainer did group classes and did them online, first of all, if he did the group class, suddenly my 1 hour fee for my one-on-one becomes less because it's a group cost. And equally, that person can now start training by, every morning. I was doing it every morning at 9 o'clock. Now we could do it online every morning at 9 o'clock. And if price is an issue for me, because I'm concerned about money, because maybe a lot of people have lost their job, I don't have the spare income to do these things right now. Maybe if you did it as a group, again, it's not discounting, but you're getting access to people and you're giving access to people to your service. I think you can also look at things. I know this is a bit of a joke for people, but you could write a book. You could take the next 3 or 4 weeks. It doesn't have to be an elaborate book about your service, and you could sell that book, that expertise online. I have discovered myself, that if I give people a little bit of advice, then quite often in my agency business, when I had an agency business, I give people free advice, and then it would often lead to people then booking my service. So, because that's another kind of area I want people to think about. It's not just about existing clients and trying to retain them. There are clients out there that will spend money right now. Myself, for example, I'm actually ramping up in what I'm doing. I feel it's very urgent that I get out there and help more people. So in fact, I'm looking to hire people. And so there are people in different sectors that are actually growing right now. So instead of focusing on your initial client base that you may be thinking has all dried up, there might be a whole new range of clients out there. So you've got to keep hustling. You've got to keep marketing. You've got to keep displaying your business and letting people know that you're available for business. I also think there's another area that you can appeal to people on, and it depends on your business, I know, but this is just my view. I think you can ask people to prepay. So I see, for example, in schools, there's my son who goes to a nursery. I want that nursery to continue. I want that nursery to be successful. I don't want that nursery owner, who actually is a friend of mine, to suffer. Equally, I don't want that nursery to close. When this coronavirus ends, and it will end, then we're going to want these wonderful services that we enjoyed before coronavirus hit us. So if you ask me to prepay for my son's education, I will do it. So anybody out there that has a nursery, maybe this is something to think about. Just ask clients. You'll be surprised how good-willed people are. And although it might be tough times for people right now, just asking does not hurt. I've also noticed the kindness that's coming through from certain people. And in particular, I've seen examples where people have asked to be paid extra to get them through this tough time, and people have done it. So my wife, she works at a clinic where there's 25 practitioners. They normally sell an hour of their service to help someone, maybe it's acupuncture or whatever. And they've actually asked, some of these people in this clinic have asked their core clients that have been using them for years to pay them in advance for when they do come back online, and that gives them some cash flow to survive. And a lot of people are doing this. So for anyone that doesn't realise that there's kind people out there, I'm kind of telling you right now, if you're a small business owner, I've told people to go and buy gift cards from you in previous broadcasts. I've said that people should be proactive and help you. But equally, if you're a small business owner, you need to be proactive and go out there and ask. So ask. You'll be surprised at how many people will support you. Most of you have been out there supporting me and others your whole career. So I know it sounds silly, but I think of my plumber, for example. I've had a few problems with my plumbing, and every time I've called him up, he's come straight over and fixed it. So sending him a text, as I did recently, and saying, hey, I don't need your plumbing services right now, but maybe you need me. Is there anything I can do to help you? And so I think just by doing that, and I'm kind of talking to two audiences, if you're a small business out there, ask. But if you have a service provider that you've enjoyed and respected and want to stay in business 3 or 4 months from now when everything goes back to normal, then why don't you reach out and offer some help to them? And so I'm still on the topic really of don't discount. I'm trying to give ideas around how not to discount, and I think by offering a light version of what you do, I'm giving an example. Selling your expertise instead of your services is another example. Asking people to prepay. I think, is another example. Asking people to pay extra is another example. It's kind of going the opposite way to discount, and I think you'll be surprised at how much more receptive people will be. I think also, I'm just checking to see, I missed, if anyone, there's quite a lot of people asking questions, so I'll go and check that in a minute. One thing I have noticed as well, a lot of people have sent me messages via my website saying that they are struggling. And then when I go and have a quick look at their business, quite often I've discovered that their website is out of date, or they haven't done anything on social media for a long time, or they just let things slide. Maybe in good times, business just came to them. You know, I'm not going to call out anyone in particular, but I want anyone out there with a small business to also realize that they have to push every button right now themselves. So if your website is out of date, get on it, fix it. Make sure when people go on your website, it's easy for people to buy from you. And so, you know, I've noticed that with people selling online stuff. Again, I don't want to call out anyone, but there is quite a big coffee chain that's now doing home delivery stuff. And when you go on their website, it's just not clear that they do home delivery stuff. There's not one button, click here and buy. It's so unclear. So I basically want you guys, small business owners, to maybe have a little look at your communications stuff and just update it. Now, I don't know, you know, again, I've had this feedback from people when I've said, you know, go update your website. People say, I don't know how to do a website. It is so easy. If you've built a business of any sort and got one client, invoiced them and got paid, you're capable of updating a website. So, you know, I built a website for my podcast and for myself through GoDaddy. My own website, simonsquibb.com, took me 2.5 hours. Now, I may get some feedback from you guys now saying, well, it's rubbish, and that's fine. But for me, it works. You go on there, you can quickly watch my TED Talk. You can send me a message if you need to. And it does what I want it to do, but I've kept it up to date. And so you guys need to make sure you've done the same. Same with all your social media channels. You've got to make sure you've kept them up to date. I guess my ultimate message when giving you advice around this, though, is don't assume clients won't pay. And so I learned this myself through Fluid in 2003 when I went through the SARS virus. I just asked people. I asked them if they would pay us 50% deposit or pay us for a project they're going to need when they come out the other end of the virus. And people did. People did. We were able to work on projects planning for the day when that virus went away. So, you know, just pitching that to clients and saying, you know, let's assume it's 6 months, but you pay us now to work on a project. Some of the projects I used to work on could take up to 6 months to complete. So, you know, I know every business is different, but there might well be, like I used my plumber example, I'm going to need my plumber again at some point. And hopefully not soon, because I don't want him to have to leave his home. Equally, I don't want to get my home contaminated. But at the same time, you know, if I have a plumbing problem, I'm going to have to solve it. And I know my plumber will be there to help me. So I want to be there to help him through this tough time where a lot of people have cut back on things like his service. So it's basically an important thing for me to make sure that people know, because I've been through this before, small businesses know, do not assume your clients won't pay. I also think that you need to keep showing up. A lot of people I noticed, they're like, okay, there's nothing I can do, I'm just going to shut down, stop doing everything and wait. And I understand the sentiment. For a couple of weeks, maybe that's a good idea, but that's not a long-term strategy for any business. So even if you're at home not working on your business right now, I think you should be. I think you should at least be talking about the vision, the mission, long-term strategy, looking at the numbers, looking at what you could be doing better. I think there's two scenarios. One is what you can do, of course, at this time, right now, plus what you can do when the coronavirus is under control and life goes back to semi-normal. And so I also think there are other things I could go on about these different elements quite extensively. I think there is, you could, if you want to get clients, don't give discount. I want to make sure I keep saying that. But you can do things like offer longer credit. So perhaps if you're in the events business, for example, and you want to rent out your event space, just off the top of my head, then maybe you can still offer it to people that you know are going to book, but offer them long credit so they don't have to pay until hopefully the coronavirus is over and then they can pay. But at least you know you've got bookings coming in. And at the same time, of course, you be generous on the terms and conditions and give them the ability to cancel if the coronavirus continues to impact our lives like it is now. But I'm certain that this is come to an end. And I think if people think that way and think positively, there's lots of exciting planning that you can do at this moment. And I don't think discount is going to work. To me, it's a bit like the whole Wolf of Wall Street model about selling a pen to someone who doesn't really want a pen. If clients aren't biting at your service, discount will only devalue what you do. That's not the way to go. I think the thing to do is innovate your business, amend it to suit the times we're in, make sure you're pushing just as hard as you were, if not harder, before coronavirus hit, and keep looking for new clients, looking for ways of selling your expertise, not your service. If you follow these rules, you will push through the coronavirus impact on your business. I know this to be true because I did it for myself in 2003 in Hong Kong. And for anyone that knows me, you'll know I had a massive success with my agency Fluid. And in 2016, I sold it to the accounts company PwC. But when the virus hit me and that business in 2003, I had a week where I thought, wow, it's all over. None of the clients I had at that moment were spending. And I then deployed the techniques I've just described to you to turn it all around. So if you deploy the 7 techniques I've just described, you will be amazed at what it will do to your business. So that's my main message. Let me have a little look to see what's going on. Hi Luke, thanks for joining. Nice to see you again. Hi Zama, nice to see you. Great to see Margaret online, thanks. Hi Oscar, good to see you too. Let me just check on Facebook what questions I've got coming up. Okay, so I've got an interesting question on Facebook from Matt. Matt is saying, I was a photographer and now I have no business, of course. What should I do? Well, Matt, I've talked about it at the beginning of this broadcast already, but when I hear that question, what kind of jumps to my mind is what I was saying earlier, which is, can you sell your expertise instead of your service? Is there a way, through all the things that you've learned being a photographer, for you to build that into some tutorial, some content, some useful tips, some manual of how you've achieved what you've achieved through photography, and sell that as a book, as a service, as a subscription offering to someone? So, I kind of repeat what I've been saying. That's a question is very relevant to my theme this evening, which is sell your expertise, not your service. That being said, I also think there's an opportunity to go back to your existing clients and maybe sell them prints, maybe appeal to their goodwill to buy your prints. Maybe you've done some pictures of life in your hometown, and maybe you've done certain pictures of certain scenes in life, and maybe you can leverage that content that you've produced in the past. For example, you could produce a coffee book, and maybe then people will buy it online. If it's lots of pictures of life in your town, maybe there is an ability to take that life in your town, turn it into a book, and then everyone in that town buy that book so that you stay in business. So, this is just an idea off the top of my head. But I feel like if you have the talent of a photographer, you're very lucky. And so you need to just rethink how you use that talent. I think it's a good question, Matt. I think your question is something a lot of people are struggling with right now as sole traders with a craft like that. And so I understand the question, and I hope that my basic answer helps. If you want more, if that's not enough guidance, then feel free to jump onto my website, simonsquibb.com, and give me more of a download as to exactly what your problem is, and my ideas how they would or would not work for you. And I can already hear the reply maybe from some folks that hear this idea. For example, my idea, if you're a photographer, you've taken lots of pictures of life in your town, put it into a book for that town, and then that town buys it. I know, the sort of response that you can get if you're stuck right now. It might be, well, how can I pay to make those books? And again, how can you work through these problems? And one example might be with that problem, maybe you could crowdfund it. Plenty of crowdfunding sites out there. Why don't you stick your town photography book up on one of the crowdfunding sites and then seed it within your community? And again, I think you might be shocked how many people might support you. If you've been taking pictures of people's weddings and taking pictures of people's lives and they love you, then I think you're going to find a lot of people are going to give back at this moment and help you and support you. And so I think appealing to people's kind nature will really shock you how nice people can be at a time like this. I have been amazed. I have been broadcasting now I've been broadcasting every night for 8 days, and I have been amazed how many people have been sharing my broadcast in their groups and taking time out to get what I'm doing, my message out to the community. And they don't have to, and I appreciate it. Now, I don't make any money from these broadcasts. I don't want to make any money from these broadcasts. My purpose is to simply help people right now. I'm not after anything. But still, the fact that people take their time to share what you're doing in their busy day, and I know that some of the people that have been sharing my content are pretty busy. They've got big companies. So, for example, Simon Long, who's the founder of WeLab, is the largest fintech company in the world, and he's been sharing my stuff. He's running a 43 million customer base business through a pandemic right now, thousands of staff, and he takes the time out to share my things and what I'm doing and contribute. He's going to join my podcast show the week after next and tell us all about his life and his business and how he's fighting back through this pandemic. Again, it blows my mind how generous people are and the good that this problem is bringing out in people. That doesn't mean to say there's not bad out there, and I know there is, but I'm just saying what I feel, which is there's more good than bad, and actually to get the good, you need to ask for it. So I have this whole theory about luck. I think luck is not something that randomly happens to you. I think it's a skill. And part of that skill is you've got to ask. And so right now, I would ask, if I was a photographer right now, from my past clients to support me. Not for free, not give me money for nothing, but maybe buy some prints and you can take the time to Photoshop them up, or some pictures they didn't get before, you could Photoshop them up. You maybe didn't give them all the pictures from previous shoots, and you could resell them or sell them to these people, and it might cheer people up. They're sitting at home missing their old life, and you find a picture from one wedding 2 years ago that they hadn't seen because you didn't think it was that great at the time to make it part of the portfolio you handed over. But I tell you right now, that would lift the spirits of that person at home, and I guarantee you they'd make a contribution to your survival, frankly. And I really think that something like that could make a huge difference to your business. So anyway, Matt, I hope my answer has been useful. I don't want to go on and on, but again, feel free to go to my website, simonsquibb.com. Leave me a message if you want to know more. I'm happy to go into more detail and perhaps innovate with you or brainstorm with you about your particular situation and how you might be able to innovate your way out of this problem. So I just want to see now if there's any other questions. Sorry guys, I'm just checking if you can give me a moment. Okay. Okay, I've got a question here from Francesca, and she's asking about, she's basically saying, I presently run I can't read that word, I presently run an art gallery. somebody I couldn't read it. I'm presently running an art gallery, and of course we no longer have clients coming into our studio to buy the art. I'm wondering, we've gone online, no one's buying anything online right now. What should we do? Well, a lot of things go through my mind when I hear a problem like that. And some wacky ideas that perhaps wouldn't be traditional, and some more traditional, straightforward ways of dealing with the problem. Art in particular for me, and I don't know, your exact art genre, but to me, art is always one of those things that is an asset over time. And so if you've got stock, maybe there's a way to go to your existing clients and do a hedge. So you might say to them, look, this piece of art is worth X thousands of pounds, and pitch it as an investment. You buy it now for £2,000, and in 5 months' time, if I sell it for £5,000, I share the difference with you. For example, I'm just making this up. How can you shift stock you're probably sitting on to give you cash flow to survive until the coronavirus is over, is basically what I'm talking about. Equally, again, I haven't checked out what you're doing, but I'm pretty certain if you just have the art online, you don't have things like an auction system on there. So as crazy as this idea might sound, but maybe you could put the product up on eBay. Now, I know that sounds mental. I'm sure you've got a brand that you really want to protect, and eBay sounds like way off brand, but I'm talking really about an auction system. So you might want to offer up this art and see how high the bid goes, and see if there's another way to sell it other than the traditional way of here's a piece of art, you want to buy it. Now, this other idea I'm also thinking of off the cuff here is, again, I don't know your product type, but maybe there's an opportunity to create, and I don't know the law around this, you've got to be a little bit careful, but a raffle. So it could be that you, again, building in purpose into the business, as I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, I think is very important. But maybe if you had a particularly valuable piece of art or a really nice piece of art, you could run some sort of raffle. And maybe, for argument's sake, you sell tickets online for £1, and at the end of the raffle period, week, 2 weeks, someone's going to win this, for argument's sake, £20,000 painting. And you're going to give 20% or 30% or 40% of the receipts from this raffle to the NHS Frontline Equipment Fund, or to Animal Cruelty, RSPCA, that are really suffering right now because they don't have enough staff to help with looking after the animals. They need more funding. I'm just picking two charities that I think are relevant. I like, but you could get a charity that suits you. But basically, if you build in there's a purpose that people then can join this raffle, potentially win something. Maybe they do or do not want, but at least it's an asset at the end of the day. It's going to cost them £1, and that pound, part of it's going to go towards a charity or something that matters. Then I think this could be really powerful. And so again, I'm just making this idea up off the top of my head right now, but just trying to get you thinking. Now, I don't know your brand. I don't know whether you would push the boundaries and do some of the things I've just suggested, but I'm just trying to get you thinking. And so when you ask that question, I can see you're stuck because maybe you're so used to doing things a certain way. Survival is going to come, I think, in two forms. If either you listen to my ideas and you come up with one that's better, and you evolve and you innovate, and you can innovate yourself into a whole new business model that might actually be your real future, or you can hibernate. So it's innovate or hibernate. But what I've been saying to people, and what I've been saying since 2003, is sometimes you need to pivot, but don't panic. There's a very big difference. So I do think pivoting is a good idea, especially at times like this. Gives you a chance to rethink what you want and then what the business should do to service the market needs. And then you need to execute it well. So without harping on about the cafe chain that's no longer got people walking in and buying coffee who have innovated, and they're now, you can buy produce from them and they'll deliver it to you, but they're missing a few steps, but they haven't executed it well. They haven't put a clear call to action on their website, for example. So yeah, that's my advice to you. I know it must be quite tough right now, and I'm also hoping that people, and I've been saying this for a long time to people anyway, that good times don't last. There's always bad times. This particular time is definitely one of the hardest times I've ever seen or ever experienced, but it was going to happen. So I hope people have also given themselves a bit of a buffer. Now, I know a lot of small business owners haven't got a buffer, and I want to be here to help. That's why I'm giving these suggestions. I'm assuming there's no buffer. I'm giving ideas that really involve you pushing the business, asking people for help, as I've suggested earlier, asking people to prepay for your services, asking people to pay extra. I think, again, you'll be surprised how many people will do it. And so that's basically what I'm proposing to you guys. So yeah, some good questions tonight. Thanks very much. I can see, I'm just going to check again if there's any other questions. I have to load the page. Sorry guys, still getting used to making this stuff go faster. Well, Maxa, thanks very much for your comments. Thank you. I'm going to give you a like on there. Appreciate that. Okay, guys. So, in conclusion, for tonight's broadcast, I just want to reiterate again, I am here every night from 8 p.m. to try and help two types of people. One, people that have a small business and they're stuck. They can't innovate, they can't figure out a way forward, they are trapped within the four walls of what they've always done, and you need someone to help you break through. I want to be that person to help you break through. It's not just me as well. I can bring to the table my network and resources, and I will do anything I can to help you break through. So you can do it online by leaving me comments, as some of you have done tonight, or if you're more conservative or shy, or you don't want to share your problems online, you can go to my website simonsquibb.com and you can leave me a message on there and I will reply. So that's definitely a key focus for me, is trying to help small business owners right now push through this difficult time. At the same time, I really want to encourage anybody out there that's thinking of starting a business to start a business. I want to help you get over the line to do it. And if you haven't thought about doing a business, I'm also excited about the idea of convincing you to do one. Now, I know a lot of people don't think they're entrepreneurs, or I hear a lot of people say, I need to get experience before becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need experience to be an entrepreneur. I started my own first company at 15. I had near zero education. Of course, I could read and write, but I didn't know anything else. I knew nothing about business, really, and I just started, and that's how I learned. I learned by making mistakes. And so I want you guys to know from my own past experience, I started 17 companies in total in my career. The first 13 companies, I started with zero money. In fact, the company I started with money didn't do as well as the ones I started with no money. Now, that being said, I know it's very easy to say you don't need money to start a company, and there are points in the business when you need money. And so I've recently done a video, you can go check it on my YouTube, the 7 steps to starting a company. And I think it's step 5 that money kicks in. So, basically, there are ways to start businesses without money. That does not mean to say you won't ever need money, but there are so many ways to get the money you need. And I've mentioned some of them in the broadcast tonight, and I will probably make this my theme for tomorrow night when I go live at 8 p.m. And I will talk about ways that you can actually get your business going without any money. And so, yeah, I probably haven't got enough time tonight to go through all the different ins and outs, but I will try and cover that tomorrow. So that's it, folks. I wanted to answer the questions that I've been given. I wanted to make sure that I'm here to help anyone that's struggling. Although I'm going offline now, I will be available through my website. You can come and ask me questions about anything. If you are thinking of starting a business, please let me know what you need. I'll try to advise you. At the same time, anyone out there struggling, please feel free to go on my website, simonsquibb.com, and let me know how I can help you. And I will be on again tomorrow night, 8 p.m. London time, available to anyone that has any questions about any of the things that I mentioned tonight. So I will now click offline. I've been online for 45 minutes. It's probably enough of my voice for some of you folks. But I want to thank you for coming on. If you found my content useful, please leave a comment. Please share this post if you think anyone will find it useful. I'll be grateful. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is useful to people. So if you share it and it reaches one person that needs a bit of advice that I've given tonight and it helps them, it will make the world of difference to them and make the world of difference to me. So I'd really appreciate it if you shared this broadcast or sent folks my YouTube link so they could watch some of my videos designed to help people get through this difficult time. So thanks again for joining. Appreciate it. I'm going to log off now, guys. So I wish you a pleasant evening, and I'll be back on tomorrow at 8 p.m.